Good morning, peace be upon you. It's me, Professor Sugar again. And today we are going to talk about is a very important characteristics of a test, and that explains the word which are used to describe how good a test or an examination is or how good that is not. That means we are talking about is validity, reliability, feasibility and objectivity. And this corresponds to chapter 19 of my book. You see, the problem is there is a student, and let us say his achievement score is 75, meaning by that is his level, and if he is administered a good test, then he is going to score 75 whenever that test is being administered to him. He might score 60 in a test. Although his achievement score is 75, he might score a 60. One of the reasons could be that the test is invalid or it has very low validity. Similarly, that student whose true achievement score is 75 may consistently score 75 if an examination is repeated. One time, two times. Now, if a student is doing that, then we can say this thing, we have a faith in that examination because the achievement of the student is constant, which is 75, and he is scoring 75. So he is consistent in scoring. So that brings to us an important concept of validity and reliability. It is important to justify the method, instrument, tool or the number of items used in examination, whether we are using is a oral method or a written method or a performance-based method, or the instrument or tool, meaning by whether you use a short answer question, short essay, long essay, OSPE, long cases, short cases, whatever we are using, and the number of questions in an item, 40 MCQs, 7 SEQs, 14 stations, whatever it is. The characteristic of a good test are if it has high validity, it has increased value of reliability, it is objective, and it is feasible. These are the characteristics of a good test or examination. Let me first explain you the concept of validity or reliability. And to explain this thing, let me use an example of an archer. You see, this is an archer. This is the target, and this archer is using bow and arrow, is aiming to hit the target. So you are an archer, you have bow and arrow, and one has as a scoring target. Let us suppose this is a student, and the student has received training, it has learned the knowledge, it has learned the skill, it has learned the attitude required to be a very good archer. And obviously this archer has learned to use bow and arrow and to fire this bow and arrow, this arrow using the bow on the target. Student, tools and instruments, examination paper. I again repeat, student, tool and items, and the examination. This could be paper, this could be OSCE, this could be Viva, this could be anything. Now what could be the outcomes? The outcomes could be that the arrows which are hitting, they do not hit the target. Now the purpose is that when the student has learned, we bring the student into the field which is the examination hall, and we give a stimulus, and the stimulus which is given to the student was demonstrate the act of throwing an arrow onto the target. And that stimulus has produced a response in the student, and the student has taken the aim and thrown it. Now, what could be the outcome? The outcome could be that the arrows do not hit the target. Now, the purpose was the arrows should hit the target. Now, if arrows are not hitting the target, then this test is invalid, whatever the reason it could be. Or if few hit, or if all of them hit, then it's a valid test. Rather, a very good valid test, because the purpose was that the arrows should hit the target and they are hitting it. And obviously, if few arrows hit and few don't hit, then we can say that the validity is less. Now, if the arrows are hitting the target, then it's a valid test. Now, you see, this thing is, if arrows, they are hitting it, and we start scoring, what is the score the students achieve, the archer achieved? We know in targets the numbers are written. So if it is going to hit like that, and each time he does that, there will be inconsistency of the numbers. Meaning by the result would be different. Each time the archer throws the set of arrows, so we can say this thing, that this examination is not reliable because there is inconsistency in the score. But let us say, okay, each time the archer hits, and it hits in this box. So therefore, if you calculate the score, it is 97 plus, it comes to be around about 80. If you calculate the numbers, and then after some time, you again ask, and again he hits the arrows, and the score is around about 80, then we will have faith in that examination, and we will call it a reliable test, because there is going to be reliability of the score, and there is not going to be inconsistency in scoring. Let me explain it further. It is important to justify the method, instrument, or the number of items used in examination, good quality of questions being administered, and train the students in attempting the questions. May I repeat them? Justify the method, instrument, or the number of items used in an examination or a test, good quality of questions being administered, and train the students in attempting the questions, and obviously faculty how to construct, how to make a good examination which is high validity, which is increased value reliability, which is objective, and which is feasible. Now, validity. Validity is the degree to which the test measures what the test is supposed to measure. Because a test can measure many things, and there could be many intentions for which the test is being administered. For example, an MCQ test paper was supposed to measure application and problem solving. But if we construct an MCQ test which measures recall, then obviously it has poor validity, because it is not serving the measure, it is not serving the purpose for which this test was made. You might have realized by now, when we are talking about validity, it is a bit subjective. So therefore, you cannot assign the measure in terms of units which are numbers. So it is expressed on a scale in words. For example, very good, good, poor. This test has a very good validity, poor validity, or you can use other words like it's of high validity, it's of low validity, and so on and so forth. The types of validity could be content validity, face validity, concurrent validity, predictive validity, construct validity, consequence validity. It means these are the different purposes. One purpose of a test could be that it should see that the student knows the whole content. Other could be, if you see the test on face value, it should appear the test which is being administered. I'm going to explain these terms, so therefore let me proceed further. Content validity, the extent to which a test measures the intended content area. How to ensure? Using a matrix or grid called a table of specification. So therefore, if we make an examination or a test in which a table of specification has been used, then it ensures that the test has a good content validity. What is a table of specification? Because the table of specification, it shows the relative emphasis in percent given to a content area and the instructional objectives. It improves the content validity. We are going to discuss table of specification in subsequent videos, so therefore I am not elaborating it. Face validity means how the exam paper appears at face value. For example, do the items appear fair and appropriate? It can develop trust between the assessor and the students. If the face value of the paper is good, then establish the trust. For example, if I am appearing in a final year of a medical college surgery paper, and a paper comes to me, and paper has questions of surgery, and it has the level of questions problem solving, because I was taught in that way, and it has questions of recall because there was certain material which was of recall and these things, then on face validity, it's a good paper. It's going to develop trust between the teachers and the students. Concurrent validity, the degree to which test results are related to the scores on an established test administered simultaneously. Now, how to administer? First, administer a new test. So therefore, just to give an example, let us see, we want to examine the problem solving component of knowledge. Now we have two sets of paper, one we construct of MCQ and one of short answer question. Now MCQ paper has been administered many times and we know it is of high validity. Now first we do is, we administer a short answer question paper. First we administer the new test, then administer the established test, finally the scores of the two tests are correlated. Now if the scores correlate, then we can say that the new test has high concurrent validity, or simply both tests with high concurrent validity. It means this thing, if we can administer same test or the other test to a group of students, and we are pretty confident that they are going to score same. Predictive validity is the degree to which a test can predict future performance. Or to determine, you administer a test, after administering a test, then wait until the predicted behavior occurs, then obtain a measure of the new behavior and correlate the two results. For example, we say this thing that we want to measure problem solving, construct, and whatever it is. So what we do is, in a final year examination, we gave an OSCE, Objective Structured Clinical Examination test with 14 items. The student has score and there is a numerical value. Now what we do is, once they start their house job and they start working, and at that time we administer a new test and see the score. And obviously in a workplace we may be using other ways of examination like DOPS and mini CX and converting them into numbers. The scores, if they match, then we will say yes, examination the high predictive value, and it can truly predict the expected behavior in the future. Now construct validity. How well a test measures a hypothetical construct. For example, intelligence, problem solving, critical thinking. Now intelligence, problem solving, critical thinking, which occurs in the mind, is a hypothetical construct. It is a construct because it's present in the mind, one can't see it. But to see, we have to see the behavior in the student to know if one has learned that construct or not. For example, as I was talking before, problem solving is a hypothetical construct. The testing hypothesis is that the students, he can comprehend, reason and analyze the information, can solve the problem well. Now, this is the hypothesis. For example, asking for justification in short essay question for diagnosing a jaundice patient requires understanding and analyzing the information in a question. Therefore, those students who score well on the question also score well in the clinical examination of the jaundice patient. So that means the construct validity is going to be high. Now we are coming to the reliability. When we are talking about reliability, one should think the marks obtained by the student, the scoring. It is the degree to which a test consistently measures whatever it measures. The more reliable the test, the more confident one is that the score obtained is essentially the same as if the test was re-administered to the same student. Therefore, one can trust the method and the instrument used. For example, if a student scores marks of 40, 60, 80 on a test in 3 sittings, one would not have faith in the test because the achievement level of the student is same. Now we are administering him tests and each time there is a gross difference between the marks, so we don't have faith in that examination. Important thing is it's expressed in numbers. For example, 0.800, 0.764 or 0.623. It has a numerical value. It is not expressed as validity in terms of a scale of words, but in terms of numbers. And it is easy to determine the validity because here we are talking about the numbers, here we are talking about the result being obtained, which are numbers, and the numbers can be fed in a program to give us reliability. Types of reliability include test reset reliability, the degree to which scores on a test are consistent over time. Calculation method, form of the test is administered, after a gap of time, form is again administered, then scores of the two tests are correlated, and if the scores are similar, then we will say that this examination test has high test retest reliability. Then there is equivalent forms reliability. This method is used when 2 or more forms from question papers are available. The forms are identical in that they have the same number of items, similar structure, same difficulty level. However, the specific questions are not same, they are different. But they are measuring the same objectives. Calculation method, form 1 of the test is administered and soon after that form 2 is administered and the scores of the 2 tests are correlated. This is called as equivalent forms reliability. Then there is a type of reliability which is split half reliability, which is also called as an internal consistency of the paper, internal consistency of the exam. It indicates the internal consistency of the test. Calculation method is the items, that is the questions, which are, let's say if there are 50 or 100 questions, then we make 2 papers in which the sequence of question is altered. The items are divided into 2 parts. For example, all the odd number questions in one paper and all the even number in another paper. the scores of both parts are correlated with each other. By using SPSS program, determine coefficient of internal consistency called coefficient of alpha or Cronbach's alpha. So, internal consistency or split half reliability, that is expressed by a unit, and that unit is coefficient, so therefore it is called as coefficient of alpha or Cronbach alpha. And the value of Cronbach alpha is from 0.000 to 1.000, and an acceptable level of internal consistency or split half is equal to or more than 0.8000. Objectivity and reliability is easy to understand. Objectivity evaluates those marks which are scored by the students are not influenced by personal feelings or opinions of examiners while awarding the marks. There are two ways which help us to make a paper objective. One is use scoring tools, and scoring tools means using answering keys, using rubric, using checklist, etc., etc., and use of optical machine reader, especially in multiple choice and true or false, in which the students are giving a single item response which he is checking in, then these machines can be used. Scoring tools, I was telling, are the answering key is a set of answers to a question. It is used in marking multiple choice answer, short answer, short essay question, etc. A rubric provides clear description of the characteristics of the work. It could be a holistic rubric in which a single criteria is used, or an analytic rubric in which multiple criteria are used. In holistic single criteria, the answer is scored using an overall criteria. In analytical rubric, the answer is scored using multiple criteria. It has levels of achievements as column and assessment criteria as rows. It is used in marking long essay questions, assignments, etc., etc. Checklist is a list of answers to a questions ticked correctly done by the examiner. These are the scoring tools which are commonly used. It is used in OSCE, DOBS, Minisex, etc. Feasibility evaluates the examination practicability, how practical it is in terms of finances, in terms of manpower, in terms of space, in terms of time required to make examination paper, conduct exam, and announce the result, etc., etc. Now note, when is it possible to comment on the characteristics? There are certain characteristics which can comment before the examination, and there are certain characteristics we can express after the examination only. Face and content validity, we can comment before the examination. Feasibility, we can comment before the examination, and objectivity, we can comment before the examination to an extent, because if you're using optical reading machines and we are using keys and checklists, etc. After the examination, we can comment about reliability. We cannot comment upon reliability before conducting the examination. Similarly, consequence validity, predictive validity, that can only be commented upon after the examination. Wendell Newton in 1996, he gave us a formula which said utility of any examination is a byproduct of reliability, validity, acceptability, educational impact, cost effectiveness, and practicability. In simple words, what it says this thing, the concept is that if the reliability, validity, acceptability, educational impact, feasibility, etc. of an examination or test is less, the utility or usefulness of that examination or test will be compromised. I hope this short video lesson helps you in learning the concept of validity and reliability, feasibility and objectivity. Thank you very much. Have a good time. Enjoy yourself. Bye bye. May peace be on you.